So I have to be honest with you. When I first saw these properties, I had to double check the prices. For around $300,000, the price most people pay for an average home in the suburbs, you can own an actual vineyard estate in France, stone house, private land, rows of vines, a swimming pool, morning coffee, with a view that honestly makes you question every life decision you've made up to this point. We found 7 of them spread across some of France's most beautiful regions. The Dordogne, the Charente, the Gironde, the Tarn. And I'll warn you now, the last 2 properties on this list are going to raise some serious questions about why you haven't made this move already. Prices reflect when these listings were selected, so always verify availability and work with a qualified professional before falling in love with anything. That's just good sense. Now, let's get into it. First up, about $312,000 or 268,000 euros. And for that, you get 2 properties, not 1, 2. Charente is the kind of place that quietly gets under your skin. Tucked into western France between the Atlantic coast and the Massif Central, it's a department of golden limestone villages, slow rivers, and skies that seem wider than they have any right to be. The region made its name on Cognac. Some of the world's most celebrated distilleries operate within a short drive, and the names Hennessy, Remy Martin, and Courvoisier all trace their roots to this quiet corner of France. And its architecture carries that same unhurried confidence. Thick-walled stone houses built to last centuries, not decades. The climate is milder than the further north you've probably been told to expect, with warm summers and winters that rarely bite, which is part of why the British expat community here has been quietly growing for 2 decades. For anyone looking to put down real roots, Charente offers something genuinely rare. Genuine French countryside life at a fraction of the cost of the more famous regions to the south. And the Cognac doesn't hurt. Sitting in the Charente countryside near Rouillac, a quietly beautiful pocket of western France, known for its Cognac heritage, wide open skies, and that particular golden stone architecture you don't find anywhere else. This is a main house with 4 double bedrooms and a large living area, plus a second separate property with 2 bedrooms, ideal for a guest, a family member, or a rental income stream from day one. There's a barn, a cave, a garden and courtyard, and the whole thing is fully enclosed, which matters more than people realize when you've got kids, dogs, or just want your privacy back. According to the listing, there's a hobby vineyard right at the property. So you're not just buying a house, you're buying into the vine life without having to manage a full commercial operation. The nearest shops, restaurants, schools, and doctors are in Rouillac and Aigres. Railway stations are in Angoulême and Ruffec. And you've got 4 airports within reach: La Rochelle, Poitiers, Bordeaux, and Limoges. For a family who wants space, a second dwelling, an actual French countryside without a brutal commute, this is a genuinely strong opening hand. And the best part is, at $312K, this is the floor, because what's coming next already raises the ceiling considerably. A quick breath of the region, Charente and Dordogne together form one of the most livable corners of rural France. Warm summers, mild winters by northern European standards, good road and rail links, and a growing expat community that makes the transition easier. It's not about escaping to a fantasy, it's about arriving somewhere real. And real is exactly what we have next. Property 2, about $366,000, or 314,000 euros. Before we get into the numbers, it's worth pausing on where we are. Saint-Laurent-de-Vigne sits in the orbit of Bergerac, a medieval market town strung along the Dordogne River, where winemaking has been a way of life since at least the 13th century. The climate is warm and generous by French standards, with long, sunny summers that have been coaxing grapes to ripeness here for generations. The town itself has an easy, unhurried pace that most people find immediately seductive. Markets, riverside walks, stone-built cafes, and a sense that the rhythm of the season still means something. It's not undiscovered, but it hasn't been overrun either, and that balance is increasingly rare. This one is a private world. The main stone house has exposed beams, thick walls, a generous entrance hall, a sitting room, a large reception lounge, an office, a kitchen with pantry, and a second kitchen at the other end, 7 bedrooms upstairs, 2 shower rooms, 2 separate WCs, and an attic that could be converted subject to permissions. There's a second residence that is fully habitable, living room with kitchen area, 2 bedrooms, a separate lounge, a shower room, pantry, and WC. And then the land, approximately 8,000 square meters. That's around 86,100 square feet, with the option to negotiate additional vineyard parcels. The listing notes the main house would benefit from some refreshing and modernizing, including single glazed windows. So it's honest, and that's worth respecting. But the second residence is described as fully habitable right now, and the outbuildings include a vast barn, workshop, open hangar, garages, and storage. Heating is via electric radiators and a wood pellet burner. It's not a museum, it's real life. And the life here is stone walls, vines in every direction, complete privacy, and Bergerac Airport minutes away. For a lifestyle business, holiday lets, wine tourism, family compound, the listing calls it exactly that. At $366K, you're getting a private wine country estate with 2 livable dwellings and serious land. The leader has already changed. But it changes again, and the next one introduces a word we haven't used yet. That word is manor. Property 3, about $535,000, or 491,000 euros. The Gironde is, by any measure, one of the most consequential wine departments on earth. It's the department that contains Bordeaux, a city of grand neoclassical architecture, UNESCO-listed boulevards, and centuries of maritime wealth built on the wine trade. And it sits at the confluence of the Garonne and Dordogne rivers, where gravel soils and Atlantic breezes have conspired for centuries to produce wines that define what the world thinks fine wine should taste like. Saint-Emilion, Pomerol, Pauillac. The names read like a roll call of the world's most coveted bottles, and they're all within easy reach of any property in this department. Beyond wine, the Gironde offers remarkable livability, a mild Atlantic climate, excellent transport links via both road and rail, and a landscape that moves between river, forest, and vine-covered hillside in ways that genuinely never get old. If you want serious French wine country with real urban infrastructure nearby, this is the department that delivers both without any need for compromise. 10 minutes from the center of Libourne and its SNCF train station, this is a Girondin-style manor house on over 11 acres of land. That's more than 44,000 square meters, or roughly 473,600 square feet, with equestrian facilities and a vineyard on site. The listing describes a 1.53 hectare Merlot vineyard in excellent condition and a bare plot of 1.08 hectares for whatever you want to do with it. The setting is described as green and tranquil, free of nuisance, and the area around Libourne puts you squarely in Grand Cru Bordeaux territory. Saint-Emilion is just minutes away. Bordeaux City is reachable by train. That train connection is something a lot of buyers underestimate. This isn't rural isolation, it's rural access, equestrian facilities, working vines, 11 acres, a character manor house, and a functioning rail link for under $535K. If you've been quietly Googling, can I actually afford a French estate? This is the answer. Prices are as selected at the time of this roundup. Always check documents, fees, and listing status with a qualified professional. But as a proposition, the scale here is hard to argue with. And if you think 11 acres and a Merlot vineyard is impressive, you haven't seen what $722,000 can do. Quick pattern interrupt here. This part of France, the arc from Dordogne through Bordeaux country and into the Tarn, has some of the most consistent sunshine in France outside of the Mediterranean coast. It's warm, but not scorching, green, but not gray. The airports are international and well connected, and the local food and wine culture isn't a tourist attraction. It's just how people live here. Which makes everything on this list feel a little more like a life decision and a little less like a fantasy. Property 4, about $722,000 or €663,000. The Tarn is one of those regions that serious France watchers have known about for years, while the wider world largely looked the other way. Set in the rolling hills east of Toulouse, with the Pyrenees visible on clear days and the medieval city of Albi, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, at its heart, the Tarn has a warm continental climate that produces long, luminous summers and a particular quality of afternoon light that photographers and painters have been chasing for centuries. Gaillac, where this property sits, is one of France's oldest wine appellations. Vines have been cultivated here since Roman times and possibly earlier, and the winemakers here have been quietly modernizing while keeping the region's indigenous grape varieties alive in ways that have started attracting serious attention from the natural wine world. The region's relaxed village culture is the kind of thing that sounds like a cliche until you're actually living it. And the access to Toulouse, a dynamic international city with a major airport, means you're never more than 45 minutes from the modern world when you need it. The Tarn rewards people who arrive expecting to be surprised. The listing describes this one as superbly presented and restored to the highest standards. 4-bedroom country house, set privately with views across its own vineyards, woodland, swimming pool, and rolling hills. The gardens surround 2 terraces, one pergola covered off the kitchen for alfresco meals, one main southwest-facing terrace overlooking the vines. Below the pool and gardens, a paddock leads up to the vineyards on 2 sides of the house, which are currently let to a local vigneron, meaning someone else is doing the actual winemaking work. Outbuildings include an attached carport with glazed roof, a garage workshop, a log shed, a tractor shed, and an old lavoir above the orchard. Oil-fired central heating and hot water. The city of Albi, home to the celebrated Toulouse-Lautrec Museum, is 25 minutes away, and Toulouse-Blagnac Airport is 45 minutes via the A68. This isn't a project. This is a fully restored, move-in ready country house, where the only thing you need to decide is whether you want to get involved with the vines or just enjoy looking at them. That's a meaningful choice to have. And the best part is, the pool is there, the terraces are there, the fruit trees are there. You step outside and it's France, it's real life, and it's ready for you. But the next one changes the stakes again, because at $737,000, we cross into chateau territory. Property 5, about $737,000, or €675,000. Entre-Deux-Mers translates literally as between 2 seas. It's the wedge of verdant countryside that sits between the Garonne and Dordogne rivers as they flow toward Bordeaux, and it has a quiet, unhurried character that sets it apart from its more famous neighbors. The landscape here is defined by ridgelines, medieval bastide villages, and deep vine-covered valleys that feel almost undiscovered despite sitting squarely within the Bordeaux appellation zone. The region produces some of Bordeaux's crispest and most food-friendly whites, and its proximity to the city, Bordeaux Center is reachable in under an hour from most of this area, gives it a genuine best of both worlds quality that buyers consistently underestimate until they start looking at prices. Rural quiet, urban access, Bordeaux wine pedigree, and land that still reflects a pre-discovery price point. That combination is not going to last forever. It's the kind of place that doesn't shout about itself, which is precisely part of its appeal. Grand bourgeois architecture, centennial trees in a landscaped park, and views the listing describes as truly breathtaking. This is described as a spacious and adaptable layout with complete privacy and no near neighbors. And here's the twist that makes it different from everything so far. The listing includes the possibility of purchasing a 40-hectare vineyard alongside the property, a scale that moves this from lifestyle purchase to viable wine business. The original winery buildings and chais are in place, described as suitable for reinstating wine production or converting into a reception hall for weddings and events. Equestrian potential is also noted. open land that could support stabling or paddocks, access to Langon, Cadillac, Sauveterre, and Tarn. If your version of the French vineyard dream has a professional dimension, events, hospitality, wine production, equestrian, this is the one that opens that door. And it does it for $737K, which against the London or New York benchmark for anything approaching this scale is almost difficult to say with a straight face. Subscribe before the next one, because what's coming is where the word turnkey earns its meaning. Property 6, about $930,000 or €795,000. The Dordogne needs no introduction to anyone who has spent time in southwest France. But if you're arriving fresh, here's what you need to know. This is the river-carved, golden limestone heartland of the country, a department of prehistoric caves, medieval châteaux, and some of the most celebrated cooking in all of France. Périgord cuisine, truffle, duck confit, walnut oil, foie gras, originated here in the food culture, is not a tourist performance, it's a daily reality you absorb simply by going to the market on a Saturday morning. The summers are long and warm. The Dordogne River winds through valleys so beautiful they've been on UNESCO's radar for decades. And the Bastide towns, built in the 13th and 14th centuries as fortified settlements, give the region an architectural character that is completely its own. The expat community here is well established, which smooths the practicalities of the transition considerably. But the region hasn't lost its Frenchness in the process. You are still, unmistakably, in France. People who discover the Dordogne tend to find it very difficult to leave. An 18th century stone farmhouse with a living room with fireplace, a kitchen, 2 bedrooms, bathroom, and a separate WC. The listing notes some renovation work is required on the house itself. So that's the honest compromise, and it's worth naming it clearly. But surrounding that farmhouse is just over 17 hectares, including approximately 14 hectares of vines currently in production, planted with Merlot, Cabernet, Sauvignon Blanc, and Semillon. The estate produces approximately 90,000 bottles of AOC Bergerac wine annually, has received several awards, holds high environmental value, HVE certification, and all the winemaking equipment is included in the sale. A modern vinification chai, a barrel cellar, storage areas, and a dedicated sales space, all in place, all yours. The listing notes wines are currently sold through a cooperative, but there's clear potential to relaunch a private label, develop direct sales, or build out wine tourism. An attached pigeonnier on 2 levels can serve as an office, studio, or storage. A nearby village provides schools, a bakery, supermarket, and medical services. Bergerac Airport is under 20 kilometers away. The Bastide town of Isillac, known for its market and atmosphere, is 10 minutes away. At $930K, you're not buying a house with a hobby vineyard. You're buying a live, decorated, certified wine operation that someone could walk into and start. That's a different category of purchase, and yet, it's not the strongest on this list. The final property exists on another level entirely, and I'd genuinely be surprised if you saw it coming. Here's a small fact before the last one. The Lot Valley in southwest France is one of the least talked about wine regions in the English-speaking world, which means land prices haven't caught up to its quality yet. AOC Cahors wines, built on Malbec, have a global reputation. The river valley itself is dramatic, steep, and genuinely beautiful. It's the kind of place that people discover and then never stop talking about. Keep that in mind for the last listing. Property 7, about $931,000 or €851,100. The Lot Valley is one of those places that stops you mid-sentence. A rugged, river-carved corridor of limestone cliffs, ancient perched villages, and walnut orchards in southwest France. It follows the Lot River from the Causses, the high limestone plateau, down through some of the most dramatic inland scenery in the country, with cliffs that glow amber in the late afternoon and river bends that look like they belong on a painted canvas. Cahors, the valley's principal city, is an ancient Roman settlement that later became a medieval banking capital, powerful enough to rival Florence and its wines. Built on the Malbec grape, called Côte here, long before Argentina ever planted a vine. Have a depth and seriousness that is finally getting the international attention they deserve. The valley is not overrun. Prices have not fully caught up with quality, and the infrastructure is more solid than the landscape might suggest. Good road connections to Toulouse, a train station in Cahors, and a growing community of people who arrived, looked around, and quietly decided this was where they were staying. The combination of dramatic scenery, serious wine pedigree, and prices that haven't yet reflected either makes it one of the most compelling under-the-radar destinations in France for anyone thinking seriously about this kind of move. This one deserves every second of attention. 20 hectares of estate, including 12 hectares of AOC Cahors vines, 2 hectares of plum trees, and additional farmland. The main house has been renovated, described as in very good condition, with a large entrance hall, a bright kitchen, a living room with fireplace opening onto the garden, 5 bedrooms upstairs, 2 with ensuite shower rooms, an additional bathroom, a modern pellet-fired boiler, and double glazing. Adjoining the main house is a 1-bedroom guest house currently being rented out, described as a potential gîte business, subject to necessary permissions. The winery is equally serious. A shop and tasting room, a warehouse with stainless steel vats of 1,000 hectoliter capacity, and a storage shed, all fully air-conditioned and described as in very good condition. A second building stores farm equipment. This estate is certified organic. It is producing AOC Cahors wine right now. The house is renovated and move-in ready as described. The guest house is generating rental income. And the best part is, 12 hectares of Cahors vines means you're not dabbling in wine culture, you're in it. This isn't a museum, it's a working, breathing, revenue-generating piece of French terroir at under $1 million. Nothing on this list compares to it for sheer operational completeness. So let's land this, because you've seen 7 real properties, and the range is extraordinary. If your priority is entry price and maximum space, property 1, $312,000, 2 dwellings, hobby vineyard, 4 airports in range, is one of the most honest deals in this region. If you want the full private estate feel, with 2 habitable houses and Bergerac at your doorstep, property 2 at $366K is where the value starts getting serious. For the manor house and equestrian land crowd with the train link thrown in, property 3 at $535K in Libourne is probably the most underrated on the list. Property 4 in the Tarn is the best fully restored, move-in turnkey package for those who want zero compromise on presentation. Property 5 is for the dreamer with a business plan, shadow bones, and the option on 40 hectares of vines. Property 6 is for the serious winemaker who wants a working estate with an existing label and certification. And property 7, organic, renovated, Cahors AOC, 12 hectares in production, guest house already renting, is the one that will probably make the most sense to the person who's been quietly planning this for years. So here's my question for you. Which one wins for your life? The 2-dwelling entry deal, the working château, or the organic Lot Valley estate that's basically a going concern waiting for a new owner? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And the next region I cover is already in the pipeline. And it's even more surprising than this. If you want to be there for that one, you know what to do.